Joining me now is Democratic Congressman Jim Himes of Connecticut. He is a member of both the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence and the Financial Services Committee. Sir, we have so much to talk about this morning. First, what's your reaction to this new reporting about Congressman Matt Gaetz?
Well, you know, it's particularly ironic sitting here 48 hours before the Republican conference is apparently going to throw Liz Cheney from the leadership team. Right here's a woman who has who shares pretty much nothing politically with me, and I don't agree with her politics, but who is saying, look, we're going to tell the truth about what happened on January 6th. We're going to be truthful. We're not going to support a seditious insurrection. And for that, she's being taken out of her leadership post. Meanwhile, you've got, you know, Matt Gaetz under investigation with no consequences. So it says something, sadly, about my Republican colleagues.
What should they do to him?
Well, you know, this is not a new thing in the Congress. Sadly, my colleagues every once in a while find themselves in this or some other kind of hot water. I think the right thing to do is you know, obviously due process is important, and Matt Gaetz deserves his you know, his day in court or what, you know, the finalization of this investigation. But in the meantime, you know, they ought to take him off his committees. At a minimum, I would think the leadership would say, hey, you're maybe not the best ambassador for the Republican brand right now, so shut down the Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, you know, national roadshow. But again, that's just not where the Republican Party is today.
What does this say? Not just, I mean, look, we can see the state of the Republican Party, but what does it say about the bigger picture, the state of American democracy, that you have someone like Liz Cheney being ousted just because she's telling the truth?
Well, you know, it's funny. I reflect on that a lot. I was in the chamber on January 6th, and when it was all over and when Biden was inaugurated and when most of America came to believe that it was a fair election and whatnot, I thought, OK, it's time for a sigh of relief, but not really, right? I mean, the majority of Republicans in this country still believe the lie. And by the way, the easily disprovable lie, completely easily disprovable lie that Joe Biden is not a legitimate president. That's a fundamentally corrosive fact about our democracy. And believe me, there are people in the wings of the Republican Party who are waiting to use that energy to bring us back to that moment on January 6th, where we become something that I'm not sure we recognize politically.
I want to talk about this cyber attack that has targeted the Colonial Pipeline, which provides so much of the gas and the jet fuel to the East Coast. If we look at where Congress is in all of this, Congress has failed previously here about almost a decade ago to act to protect against some of these cyber attacks. What is Congress going to do to step up and actually get something done?
Well, I would say that Congress has been behind the problem, right? Frankly, the U.S. government has been too late, too little, too late is the way to think about it. And we know what we need to do, right? We need better ongoing real-time communication between the private sector, in this case, the Colonial Pipeline, and our people inside the government who know how to identify and deal with this sort of thing. These people live at places like NSA and FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. Right now, there's no obligation for most private companies to report this sort of thing to the government. That's not acceptable. They need to be side by side in real time. And so people say, well, what about privacy? And privacy is important. But I mean, this is not, you know, delivering pizzas to, you know, to American families. This is delivering the lifeblood of our economy, right? Jet fuel and diesel and gasoline. And because of that, the public has an interest in having these private companies work very closely with the government.
And aside from, say, jet fuel or gas, I mean, what other industries are you worried about that could be hit by this?
Well, anything that is sort of essential to the public welfare. We're talking about the healthcare industry, hospitals. If all of a sudden hospitals got shut down, the utilities, water, electricity, that sort of thing. Anything that is essential, we need to have an ongoing partnership. And we worked on this years ago in a bill that created the legal structure for the private sector to work with the government. We just have a long way to go. And by the way, we have a long way to go in making sure that countries like Russia and private actors like this dark side that appear to be in Russia, that they come to understand that this is not a profitable venture. You know, I've only now just stopped saying that solar winds. We did not respond adequately to that. Putin thinks he got away with it.
Multiple federal agencies and contractors.
And until we start taking the aggressive action, both in the sovereign realm, I would say that includes offensive cyber operations. In the law enforcement realm, which is more when you're talking about dark side, really going hard after these people, we're going to wake up next week to yet another attack. We need to start fighting back.
Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger came to the aid recently of Liz Cheney, and he said he warned the House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy about their party's rhetoric in the days leading up to January 6th. Let's listen.
I said, Kevin, with all this basically BS we're saying about we can make sure the election isn't certified, it was stolen, et cetera. I go, I really am concerned about violence on January 6th. The response I got was basically that cricket sound and then, okay, Adam, operator, next caller.
All right. Okay. I mean, that's alarming to hear. So if true, then what? What should happen to McCarthy?
Well, Kevin McCarthy is a man who desperately wants to be Speaker of the House. That's one of the great national leadership positions. What do we know about leadership? Leadership means protecting your people. There's a story of him not apparently adequately protecting his people. Leadership means acting even when it's hard in a consistent and principled manner. Kevin McCarthy has been on all sides of Donald Trump, right? When January 6th was happening and it felt like the place was burning down, he was apparently on the phone shouting at Donald Trump and being shouted at by Donald Trump. Now, all of a sudden, he's making these pilgrimages to Mar-a-Lago and booting Liz Cheney from leadership in a way that suggests he's on Team Trump. Leaders speak with one clear voice and act from principle. And here's a man who is not demonstrating the characteristics that he needs to achieve his ambition of being Speaker of the House.
So last week, a federal judge ordered the DOJ to make public a memo that then Attorney General Bill Barr had cited as the basis for his decision when it came to clearing Trump of obstruction of justice charges. The judge accused Barr and his Justice Department of misleading the court and the public. What should happen to the former Attorney General? Should he be charged? What do you think? Shocker of shockers, right? I mean, it made me think of when he released that memo. He gets the Mueller report from Special Counsel Mueller, and he releases 3 or 4 days later a memo that is so misleading that Bob Mueller, not known for going public with these sorts of things, says you've mischaracterized my investigation, my report. Again, this is not a new story. Attorney General Barr, and we knew this at the time, regarded the Department of Justice as a defense firm for Donald Trump. And that is a profoundly dangerous place for this country to be. Look at what Joe Biden has done. Joe Biden has said, I will not be involved in any way, shape, or form with decisions in the Department of Justice because he understands how important it is for it to be independent. This is a judge saying this, right? So it's not new necessarily in what we suspected had happened or what we saw, but it is new in the voice that is saying it, which is key. So what should happen to Barr?
Well, that's a tough question. My best answer, it's not evident that he committed a crime. If he committed a crime, I think he lied any number of times, including about things like the Chinese being involved in messing with the 2020 election. It just went on and on and on, the lies. But I think it's for history to judge. Personally, as the guy who's got to go up to the Capitol every single day and hope for, some ability to govern this country through compromise, through a future-looking, let's move forward kind of thing. Do we want to drag former Attorney General Barr, before the Congress? Do we want this to be the story, or do we want to move on in the way I think President Biden is trying to move on? I would argue that let's let history judge Attorney General Barr, and history will not judge him well.
All right, Congressman Himes, we really appreciate you joining us in studio this morning.
Good to be with you.